Ladies, it's time to talk about a title we've worn for too long, a badge that isn't serving us anymore. It's time to stop being the nice girl. The trap of niceness is one that many fall into, especially women, as society often equates being nice with being agreeable, self-sacrificing, and accommodating. It starts early with messages that encourage girls to be quiet, polite, and to put others' needs before their own. Over time, this conditioning becomes second nature, leading to behaviors that prioritize others' comfort and expectations at the expense of personal authenticity and fulfillment. Being nice isn't inherently bad. It's natural to want to be kind and considerate, but niceness becomes a trap when it requires you to suppress your true self. It often involves saying yes when you mean no, staying silent when you have something important to say, or bending over backward to meet everyone else's needs while neglecting your own. This pattern can make you feel valued and appreciated on the surface, but deep down it creates a sense of emptiness and resentment. Niceness is often confused with kindness, but the two are not the same. Kindness stems from a place of authenticity and strength. It's about giving without expecting something in return, and about standing firm in who you are. Niceness, on the other hand, often comes from a place of fear or insecurity. It's about avoiding conflict, seeking approval, and trying to fit into a mold that others find acceptable. When niceness becomes a performance, it stops being an act of love and becomes an act of self-betrayal. The pressure to be nice can be especially suffocating in environments where women are expected to take on nurturing or supportive roles. In workplaces, it might look like taking on extra tasks without complaint or not pushing back against unfair treatment. In relationships, it might mean avoiding difficult conversations or always putting a partner's needs first. Over time, these behaviors can lead to burnout, frustration, and a diminished sense of self-worth. One of the most insidious aspects of the trap is how it conditions people to equate their value with how much they give or how agreeable they are. It creates a cycle where validation comes from external sources, being liked, being praised, or being needed. But this kind of validation is fleeting and ultimately unsatisfying. The more you give away parts of yourself, the more you feel disconnected from who you really are. The trap of niceness also discourages people from embracing their full range of emotions and strengths. Anger, assertiveness, and ambition are often seen as the opposite of niceness, and so they're pushed down or hidden. But these emotions and traits are part of what make you human. Suppressing them doesn't make them disappear, it just leaves them festering beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. Escaping the trap begins with awareness, recognizing how often you prioritize being nice over being authentic. It's about challenging the idea that you have to earn love or respect by meeting everyone else's expectations. True freedom comes when you realize that you are enough just as you are, and that your worth isn't tied to how much you please others. The cost of compliance is a heavy burden, often carried silently by those who feel obligated to conform to societal expectations, cultural norms, or the demands of others. On the surface, compliance may seem like the path of least resistance, a way to maintain harmony, avoid conflict, and fit in. But beneath that veneer lies a deeper toll, one that chips away at individuality, self-worth, and the ability to live authentically. When you consistently comply with what others want, you begin to lose sight of your own desires, needs, and boundaries. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or goals, you are saying no to yourself. Over time, these small compromises accumulate, leaving you disconnected from your own identity. You may find yourself asking, who am I really, or what do I truly want? The truth is, compliance can erode the very essence of who you are. In the workplace, the cost of compliance can manifest as staying silent about ideas or concerns for fear of rocking the boat. You might take on tasks that aren't your responsibility or accept unfair treatment to avoid being labeled as difficult. While this might keep the peace in the short term, it often comes at the expense of your professional growth and self-respect. By not advocating for yourself, you reinforce the idea that your voice doesn't matter, a belief that can be hard to shake over time. In personal relationships, compliance can look like prioritizing someone else's needs or desires over your own, even when it feels wrong or draining. You might avoid difficult conversations to keep things smooth or agree to the things that don't sit well with you just to avoid confrontation. While this may seem like an act of love or compromise, it can create a dynamic where your feelings and needs are perpetually sidelined. Over time, resentment builds and the relationship becomes unbalanced, with one person giving more than they can sustain. The psychological toll of compliance is profound. It fosters a sense of powerlessness, as though you have no control over your own life. This can lead to feelings of frustration, anxiety, and even depression as you constantly suppress your true self to fit into a mold that wasn't designed for you. You might start to believe that your worth is tied to how well you conform or how much you can do for others, leading to a cycle of overgiving and burnout. Beyond the personal impact, compliance can also hinder the broader impact you are meant to have in the world. Every time you hold back your voice, an opportunity for change is lost. The world misses out on your unique perspective, your creativity, and the courage it takes to challenge the status quo. Compliance doesn't just rob you of your own freedom, it robs others of the chance to learn from your authenticity and strength. Ultimately, the cost of compliance is far greater than the discomfort of standing your ground or asserting your needs. It's a price paid in silence, invisibility, and the loss of the vibrant, unapologetic person you were meant to be. Reclaiming your voice is not just about speaking louder, it's about rediscovering the truth of who you are and giving yourself permission to express it unapologetically. It begins with acknowledging the moments you've silenced yourself, whether to avoid conflict, gain approval, or fit into a narrative that was never yours. Those moments, though often well-intentioned, gradually build walls around your authenticity, creating a version of you that pleases others but leaves you feeling invisible to yourself. Your voice is not just the words you speak, it's the representation of your ideas, your emotions, and your boundaries. It is the way you show up in the world and claim your space. When you lose your voice, you lose the ability to fully participate in your own life. You find yourself agreeing when you don't mean it, holding back when you have something important to say, or shrinking to make others comfortable. This is not living, it's surviving in the shadows of your own potential. The journey to reclaiming your voice begins with understanding why you lost it in the first place. Perhaps it was because you were told your opinions didn't matter, or maybe you were conditioned to believe that silence was a virtue. These narratives are deeply ingrained, but they are not truths, they are limitations imposed by fear, societal expectations, or past experiences. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them. As you take steps to reclaim your voice, you may encounter resistance not just from others, but also from within yourself. Doubts may creep in. What if I'm too much? What if they don't like what I have to say? But these fears are not reasons to stay silent. They are signs that you are stepping into uncharted territory, a place where growth happens. Your voice matters not because of how others respond to it, but because it is an expression of your truest self. Reclaiming your voice also requires practice. It means speaking up even when your voice shakes. It means expressing your opinions even when they go against the grain. It means setting boundaries and standing firm in them, even when it feels uncomfortable. Each time you do this, you reinforce the message to yourself and to the world: I am here and I deserve to be heard. This process is not always easy, but it is profoundly liberating. With every step you take, you'll feel a weight lifting, a sense of empowerment that comes from living in alignment with who you truly are. You'll begin to notice that your relationships become more authentic, your confidence grows, and your presence becomes undeniable. Reclaiming your voice is not about dominating others or demanding attention. It's about embracing your rightful place in the world. It's about understanding that your words, your ideas, and your truth have value, not because someone else says so, but because they come from you. It's about living fully, freely, and unapologetically as the person you were always meant to be. Shifting from approval to authenticity is one of the most profound transformations you can undertake. It means letting go of the relentless pursuit of validation from others and stepping into a life that is true to who you are. For many, the need for approval begins early, shaped by a desire to fit in, to be liked, or to meet the expectations of family, friends, or society. Over time, this desire can become a habit and automatic reflex that leads you to prioritize the opinions of others over your own values, needs, and aspirations. When you live for approval, your choices often revolve around what will make others happy or what will garner praise and acceptance. You might find yourself agreeing with things you don't believe in, pursuing goals that don't resonate with you, or hiding parts of yourself that you fear others won't accept. This constant performance can be exhausting, and it creates a sense of disconnection from your true self. You may start to feel like a spectator in your own life, watching as the person you present to the world drifts further from the person you know you are inside. Authenticity, on the other hand, is about living in alignment with your inner truth. It's about being honest with yourself and with others, even when that honesty is uncomfortable. It means embracing your uniqueness, the strengths, flaws, dreams, and quirks that make you who you are. When you shift from seeking approval to living authentically, you free yourself from the pressure to conform to others' expectations. Instead, you begin to focus on what feels right for you, what aligns with your values, and what brings you genuine joy and fulfillment. This shift isn't always easy. It requires you to confront fears that have kept you tied to the need for approval. You might worry about rejection, conflict, or the possibility of disappointing others. These fears are real, but they are also manageable. Each time you choose authenticity over approval, you build resilience. You learn that not everyone will agree with you, and that's okay. The relationships that matter most, those built on mutual respect and genuine connection, will thrive when you show up as your true self. Living authentically doesn't mean disregarding others' feelings or opinions. It means not letting them dictate your sense of worth. It's about making choices that reflect who you are, rather than who you think others want you to be. This shift allows you to live with greater confidence and peace, knowing that you are being true to yourself. As you embrace authenticity, you'll notice a change in how you experience life. The superficial rewards of approval will pale in comparison to the deep satisfaction that comes from living with integrity. You'll attract people and opportunities that align with your true self, creating a life that feels rich and meaningful. By shifting from approval to authenticity, you reclaim the power to define your own worth and live a life that is truly yours. The power of boundaries lies in their ability to protect your energy, preserve your mental and emotional well-being, and define the space where you can thrive. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are tools that allow you to engage with others in healthy and balanced ways. They create clarity about what you will and will not accept, and they teach others how to treat you while reinforcing your own sense of self-worth. For many, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish or that your value comes from how much you can give to others. This mindset often leads to overextending yourself, sacrificing your needs, and feeling resentful or burnt out. Boundaries are the antidote to this cycle. They are an act of self-respect and self-love, reminding you and those around you that your time, energy, and well-being are important. When you don't set boundaries, you risk becoming overwhelmed by the demands and expectations of others. Without boundaries, you may find yourself constantly available to others, leaving little room to focus on your own goals and priorities. This can lead to frustration and exhaustion as you pour all your energy into meeting external needs while neglecting your own. Boundaries provide a framework for balancing the needs of others with your own, ensuring that you can give from a place of abundance rather than depletion. One of the greatest powers of boundaries is their ability to foster healthier relationships. When you set clear boundaries, you communicate openly and honestly about your needs and expectations. This level of transparency can strengthen relationships by reducing misunderstandings and resentment. Boundaries also help to filter out unhealthy or toxic dynamics. People who respect your boundaries are more likely to value and support you, while those who push back or disregard them reveal their unwillingness to honor your well-being. Boundaries are also essential for personal growth and empowerment. They give you the freedom to focus on what truly matters to you, whether that's pursuing your passions, spending time with loved ones, or simply taking care of yourself. By setting and maintaining boundaries, you reclaim control over your life and create the space you need to grow and thrive. The process of setting boundaries requires courage and consistency. It may involve uncomfortable conversations, especially with people who are used to you always saying yes, but each time you assert a boundary, you reinforce your commitment to honoring yourself. Boundaries are not about controlling others, they are about defining your own limits and choosing how you will respond when those limits are tested. Over time, setting and upholding boundaries becomes a natural and empowering part of your life. You'll begin to notice a shift in how others treat you and, more importantly, how you treat yourself. The power of boundaries lies in their ability to protect what is sacred, your time, your energy, your peace, and to remind you that you are worthy of living a life that honors who you are. Embracing the whole you is an act of radical self-acceptance that requires acknowledging, honoring, and celebrating every part of who you are, the strengths, the flaws, the triumphs, and the struggles. It means letting go of the need to fit into predefined boxes or live up to societal expectations that often demand perfection, compliance, or a limited version of yourself. Instead, it's about owning your complexity and recognizing that you are enough exactly as you are. For many, embracing the whole self feels daunting because it requires facing the parts of us that we've been taught to hide or feel ashamed of. Society often praises certain traits like being agreeable, selfless, or always put together while dismissing or shaming others, such as assertiveness, ambition, vulnerability, or even failure. This pressure to conform leads many to compartmentalize or suppress aspects of themselves, creating a fractured sense of identity. But the truth is, those hidden parts are just as valuable and deserving of love as the ones we readily show the world. Embracing the whole, you means acknowledging your imperfections and understanding that they are not weaknesses but evidence of your humanity. It's realizing that your mistakes and missteps are part of your growth, not reasons to doubt your worth. You don't need to have it all figured out to be worthy of acceptance, yours or anyone else's. In fact, it's in your willingness to show up as you are, with all your flaws and brilliance on display, that you find true strength. This journey also involves reclaiming the parts of yourself that you may have set aside to fit in or please others. It's about revisiting your dreams, passions, and quirks, the things that make you unique, and giving them space to exist freely. When you embrace the whole you stop apologizing for your differences and start celebrating them. You realize that your value doesn't come from how closely you align with someone else's standards, but from the authenticity you bring to the table. Embracing the whole you also requires compassion for the vulnerable parts of yourself, the doubts, fears, and insecurities that may have held you back in the past. These parts are not signs of weakness, they are reminders of your courage to face life's challenges. By offering yourself the same kindness you extend to others, you create a space where healing and growth can flourish. When you embrace your whole self, you step into a life that feels richer and more fulfilling. You begin to attract relationships and opportunities that resonate with who you truly are, rather than who you've been pretending to be. You discover that your worth is not tied to what you do or how well you meet others' expectations, but simply to the fact that you exist as a unique and irreplaceable individual. Living as your whole self is an ongoing journey, one that requires patience and intention. But as you learn to honor every part of who you are, you'll find a profound sense of freedom and peace, a life lived in alignment with your truest self. In conclusion, the journey from being the nice girl to stepping into your power, reclaiming your voice, setting boundaries, and living authentically is not just a personal transformation, it's a declaration of your worth and a commitment to living fully. It is about recognizing that your value doesn't come from how well you fit into societal expectations or how much you sacrifice for others, but from embracing every part of who you are. This journey demands courage.